Hello everybody, and thank you for attending to this Déjà Vu X3 training for advanced user. Now it's time to have a look at the more advanced functionality of the software. You know how to create a project, how to translate, how to run a pre-translation, how to export the document. So now it's time to discover new things. My name is Etienne Tessier and I am in charge of the training department of Atrial Solutions. I have based this presentation on the most frequently asked questions that we get at Atrial Solutions. So I hope you will like it and prepare the list of questions for the end of this webinar, because we will have a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Let's start right away. First, having a smooth transition from Déjà Vu X2 to Déjà Vu X3. For those of you who use Déjà Vu X2, you might have created a list of subject and clients attributes. If you open Déjà Vu X3, you go on File, Options, and if you check this list of clients, you see that it is empty. The subject, you will get the list that is available per default. So first thing, if you want to reuse all the settings that you created in Déjà Vu X2, you can do that very easily. Let's go back on the General tab of the Options panel. Let's scroll down a little bit. And here we have the shared data location. So if you want to retrieve the settings that you created in Déjà Vu X2, that's very easy. You can select the shared setting path, click on Modify, and then you have to locate the settings of Déjà Vu X2. They are stored here. Let's have a look. In this folder, the Program Data folder, Atrial, Déjà Vu X2, and here they are, your settings. So feel free to copy and paste this one and to replace the Déjà Vu X3 settings folder with this one, or more easily, you can simply here select the Déjà Vu X2 settings file and using it, you see? So you click on Save, and now you will be reusing the client and the subject list that you used before. See? The client list have been updated and so are the subjects. Same thing, if you created project templates, you can use the one you created before by simply indicating Déjà Vu X3 where you can find them. So you will click on Modify, and you would simply have to change the folder per default. So you could choose the Déjà Vu X2 folder, for example, and choose this one for the template, for the project template. Okay, that was the first thing. The other aspect is that if you work with people that are still using Déjà Vu X2, you have to ask them to update to the latest build that is available on our website. Okay, it is to be found here. If your colleagues update their Déjà Vu X2 copy to the latest build, it will ensure that you will have the full compatibility. There is no problem whatsoever when you have Déjà Vu X3 to reuse the Déjà Vu X2 files. On the other hand, if your colleagues want to work with you, before opening certain files that comes from Déjà Vu X3, they will have to update to the latest build. Now let's talk about the project templates. This is my Déjà Vu X3 project. Okay, I have created it so. I have specified the source and the target language or the target languages. I have attached the translation memory and the term base, a machine translation provider if necessary. I have also specified which were the client and the subject attributes, and then I have imported my document. Now, baby, you will need to create similar projects every day. So you don't want to create the very same project day after day from the scratch. You can use a project template instead. Let's click under the Project tab of the ribbon. Let's click on Properties. All the information are stored here. Here are the attributes, the client attributes, and the subject. The source language and the target languages, the translation memory is attached to the project, the term base, and all the other settings. So again, if I want to reuse them in the future, I will have to create a template out of it. So that's really easy. You click there on templates. Here you can see all the list of project templates available, the ones I have already created. Now if I want to create a new project template based on the project I am working on right now, I can click on save, give it a name, and I know that I will be able to reuse it next time I have a similar translation request. Now you see it is available in my drop-down list, and all the settings are stored here. So let's have a look. Let's pretend I have a similar translation request to perform. I will click on New, and I will choose Project from Template. Then I would simply select the template I just created, click on Next, choose where I want to store it, give it a name, click on Save, click on Next, import the source file, click on Next, and that's it. The project will be created right away. So it can really help you saving a lot of time. Okay, it's nice to create project this way. You don't have to go through all the options again. You see, my project is ready to be translated. Now let's talk about the filter options and the different levels where you can change them. Let's go back to my previous project. Let's open this file, the XLIF file. As you can see, it contains embedded HTML. If you want, you can process embedded HTML. You can check these options in the properties, in the filter options, and re-import it. Now, the embedded HTML have been processed. So, either they have disappeared, either they have been replaced by the code. Now, if you get a lot of this file, you don't want to do that manually every time. So you can enable this option and make sure that it will be used automatically every time you will import such file, an XLIF file. This is just an example, of course. You can replicate the same thing with all the other filters available in the software. So let's have a look. Let's pretend I want Déjà Vu X3 to always deal with the XLIF file the same way. To do that, I will go on File, Options, Filters. I will select the XLIF filter, and now I'm ready to play around with the options by clicking there. So basically what I want to do is to make sure that every time I will import such file, embedded HTML will be processed. So I click there, and now I replace the previous filter with the new one. Once it is done, I click on OK. So I repeat, from now on, every time I will import such file, it will be imported the same way by the software. So this is the first level. Now let's pretend that for those kind of projects, I don't want the embedded HTML to be processed. In this case, I can change the option at the project level. So to do that, I will go under Project, Properties, Filters. Again, I will look for the XLIF filter, and I could play around with the option here as well. So this time, I want to make sure that every time I import an XLIF file in this project, embedded HTML won't be processed. So I will uncheck the options, click on OK, and confirm that. If I want to, I can save these settings in the project templates I have just created. So let's go back on Properties, and let's save a template out of it. It is this one. I can replace that by clicking Save. Now my project template have been updated. So I repeat, every time I will import an XLIF file in a general project, the embedded HTML will be processed. But in this project, every time I will import an Xlib file, embedded HTML won't be processed. And then the third level where I can play with the options, of course, is the file level. So I can really do what I want, file after file. So this is really great in terms of flexibility. You can do that with every kind of files. You can play around with any options you might like, and there are 3 levels where you can do that. So I repeat. In the tools in general, every time you will import a certain file, certain options will be applied depending on what you have decided. Then you can customize your project templates depending on the situation. If for a certain type of project you don't want the usual options to be applied, you can change that in the project template and save the project template afterwards. Then, of course, you have the freedom to treat the file independently. You can process them differently according to your needs. So feel free to customize the software as you want, depending on the situation. Now let's play around with the translation memory options, the penalty percentage, and the matches filtering. So I'm back in my project, okay? And now I want to have a look at the options of the translation memories. So I will go on Properties, Translation Memories, and now let's have a look here at the penalty percentage. What is that? Well, let's say that this translation memory contains entries that have been aligned, so I'm not really sure about the quality of the segments that are to be found in this translation memory. If I want to do so, I can set a penalty percentage. For example, let's set it with a 5% penalty percentage. In this case, if I get an exact match from this translation memory, it will be displayed as a fuzzy match. Let's apply the modification and let's find an example. Here we are. You see, this one, it was a 91% matches just before. Since we have applied the penalty percentage, now it is displayed as an 86% match. So this feature really helps you making sure that you do not translate bad things coming from the translation memory. If you are not sure about the translation memory, you can set a penalty percentage and pay a greater attention to it. Now let's talk about the match filtering. If you are using huge translation memories, or if you are using the team server solution, you want to be able to filter the content that comes from the translation memories. To do that, you can click on File, Options, Translation. And if you have a look at here, when retrieving matches, you can choose to only show matches with the requested sublanguage, only show matches with the requested client, or only show matches with the requested subject. Let's take this example. Maybe some of you are translating from English to French from Canada and French from Belgium. Well, you don't want to mix the sublanguage. In this case, you can very easily avoid that by clicking this option, only show matches with the requested sublanguage. Same thing with the client. If you have one unique translation memory that contains all your work, maybe there are confidentiality issues. Maybe that you just don't have the right to use the content that you have translated for a certain client for another client. In this case, you can ensure confidentiality by clicking there, only show matches with the requested client. And same thing with the subject. If you are translating a marketing documentation, you probably don't want scientific entries to be inserted in there. In this case, you can also choose to only show matches with the requested subject. Once you have configured everything correctly, you simply click on OK. What we just talked about can be applied to the term base as well. You can repeat the same operation from the term base. Now let's import a glossary into a Déjà Vu X3 term base, and let's benefit from the displaying of the different attributes directly in the auto search. This is the auto search window. If we have a term available, you can see all the attributes directly in the auto search window. That is new in Déjà Vu X3. Let's have a look at the glossary. You can see here the source term, here the translation, the synonym, the antonym, and a comment. Now you can see all of this directly in Déjà Vu X3 auto search window. Let's see how. We will create a term base first. This is the list of templates available. Let's take the minimal one and have a look at how to customize it. Now my term base is created, but it is empty. I want to import the glossary that I've shown you earlier. I would go on external data. I want to import an Excel document. So I will look for it. Here it is. Let's click on Next. Let's specify that the first row of my Excel document contains the field names. And now let's import everything. I want to import the English as the main lemma. The language would be English United States. I want to import the French column as the translation. This is a translation for the English field, and the target language would be French. Now let's import the synonym. To do so, I will create a new attribute. I'm ready to click on OK. Now let's do the same thing with the antonym. I'm creating a new attribute. I just have to make sure that the encoding is right. Now same thing with the comment. I can import it as a new attribute. And I'm ready to import everything by clicking on Next. Now I click on Finish. All my terms are now available, and you can see the attributes right here. Now let's attach this term base to the previous project. To do so, I will go on Project Properties, Term Base, and I will add the local term base, which is this one. If I look in this segment, one entry from my term base is to be found. It is benefits. And as you can see here, all the attributes are stored. So I have the synonym, the antonym, and the comment. And you can benefit from here directly from the auto search window. Now let's create, translate, and deliver a bilingual Excel document. In certain situations, you would receive an Excel file, you will have to translate it and deliver a bilingual document to your client. Let's see how to handle this. So I received this file and I should translate it. This is a glossary. I should deliver a bilingual file to the client. So let's import it and have a look at the result. Let's add this file in my project. To do so, I right-click in the Project Explorer. I click on Add, Add File, and I can select the Excel file I want to translate. I click on Open, and now I'm ready to import it. Now let's simulate the translation. To do so, I will run a pseudo translation. So I go on Project, Pseudo Translate, and I will insert random strings in the target segment. Don't pay attention to the translation here. It's just to simulate the translation process. Now let's export the file I've just translated. Now I can have a look at the pseudo-translated file. As you can see, this is not what I want. This is not a bilingual file, everything has been translated, and this is not what the client has requested. So let's close that, and let's process the source file, which is to be found here. The first thing I will do is that I will copy all the translatable segments in the column where I'm supposed to insert the translation. Then I want to ignore this column. I don't want to translate it. To do so, I would mark the column in red. I can do the same thing here with the name of the column, which is not to be translated either. Now let's save the document. Now let's re-import my Excel document. So to do so I will right click on it, but before importing it again, I will have a look at the properties. As you can see, I can choose to ignore the red text in the worksheet cells. Let's check this option and let's re-import my glossary. Now it looks better. Let's pseudo-translate it again to see how the final document will look like. Let's export my document again. And now let's have a look. Now this is what I want. As you can see, the source is still to be found in my document, and here my translation is inserted. I just have to put everything in black again, save the file, and I know that I will be able to produce the kind of files that the client requested. Okay, so just a tip here. If you want to ignore text in an Excel file, you can put it in red. And if you want a bilingual file, you can copy and paste the source column into the target one so that you make sure that you will deliver a bilingual file. Now let's see how to handle embedded objects and non-translatable text in your document. This is a new document I have to translate. Let's open it. As you can see, it contains one sentence that should not be translated. It also contains what we call embedded objects. What are they? Here we have an Excel file that has been inserted in the Microsoft Word document. Here we have a chart that has been inserted in the Microsoft document as well. So how to process that? First, let's hide the sentence that should not be translated. I select it and I press Ctrl, Shift and H. Now the text is hidden. Now I want to handle the embedded objects. I want to make sure they will be translated. I can check if they will be translated thanks to this tab available in the Microsoft Office softwares. So let's click on it. I can first check all objects. Déjà Vu runs a macro that gives me the following results. We have 2 embedded objects in the document, and no conversion is needed in order to process the file in Déjà Vu X3. If it was necessary to convert them before importing them in Déjà Vu X3, you would have to get the message here. In this case, you would just have to click there on Convert All Objects to Office 2007-2013 objects. So now, all we have to do is to save the file and import it in our project. So again, I will right click on my Project Explorer, click on Add, and import this document. Again, I can make sure that the properties are correctly set. Ignore Embedded Objects feature is not checked. This way, I will show that the embedded objects will be imported in my translation project and translated right away. On the other hand, I also want to ignore the hidden text in the document. So I will check this option. Now I'm ready to import my document. Again, let's run a pseudo translation so that we can have a look at the final document. Now let's export the document. Now we will open the pseudo-translated document. As you can see, everything has been translated, and the hidden text has not been translated, so this is what we wanted. On the other hand, if we have a look at the embedded objects, you can get under the impression that they have not been translated. This is because they need to be refreshed. To do so, you will get back on the Déjà Vu X3 menu and click on Refresh All Objects. I get the following results. 2 embedded objects were refreshed. I click on OK. And now I can see my actual embedded objects translated. So I can save my document and close it. Now let's talk about the machine translation in Déjà Vu X3 and the different levels at which you can use that. Let's get back to my project and let's open this document. As you can see here, I have one match from the translation memory and one match from the machine translation module. This one, the purple one, comes from the machine translation module. I can define the behavior of the machine translation in the auto search under File, Options, Auto Search Options. I can choose to display machine translation results in the auto search for the whole segments, only if there are no matches from the translation memory, only if there are no exact matches from the translation memory, or always. My favorite one is this one, only if there are no matches from the translation memory. So now I can insert it by pressing Ctrl 1, just like I would insert any other kind of match. The good thing is that you always know which machine translation provider it comes from. Now there are other things that you can do with machine translation in Déjà Vu X3. Let's say you want to translate a certain word and you want the help of the machine translation to do so. Let's select this word. Now if I press Ctrl plus G, I will get a machine translation result automatically. Then I can insert it or copy it. Let's go further. I can press Ctrl Shift plus G. Here I can edit the machine translation query before it gets translated. This is just a random example. And if I click on OK, you see that I have the suggestion by my machine translation provider. Then I can post it directly in there, the proposed translation, and then insert it in my segment. So let's recap. You can use it in the auto search window, depending on how you have configured the software. You can use it for a word or a group of words, depending on what you have selected. But that's not all. You can also use the machine translation module to repair the fuzzy matches. Let's have a look at this. Let's run a pre-translation. By default, you will get this. If you click OK, you will simply insert the exact matches and the fuzzy matches. Then you can go further. You can ask Déjà Vu X3 to repair the fuzzy matches. Let's have a look at this. I can try to repair the fuzzy matches using my own databases, so my own translation memories, my term bases and my lexicon, or I can use the machine translation as well. Let's try that. Let's try repair the fuzzy matches of this file using the machine translation. To do so, I will ask DVX3 to overwrite the existing fuzzy match segment. Now let's click on OK. Let's have a look at this segment. This fuzzy match has been repaired with the machine translation. This one has been repaired with the term base. This one has been repaired with the machine translation as well. In the translation memory, no need to worry about the quality of your translation anymore was to be found. Today we have to translate, no need to worry about the consistency of your translations anymore. You can see the difference here. It is highlighted in the auto search window. In red, what is in the translation memory and what should be replaced today, and in blue, what is new. Then what happened? Déjà Vu X3 located the new word that is to be translated. It sent that in the Google Translate machine translation provider, and then inserted the translation at the right place. Okay, so let me repeat again. 3 levels in which you can use the machine translation module in Déjà Vu X3. In the auto search, depending on the options you have configured. During the pre-translation, and case by case, if you want to select a group of words and request the machine translation. If you want the machine translation providers to pre-translate whole segments for you, you can do that as well. In this case, you will run a pre-translation, and you will check this option, use machine translation for whole segments. Then, it is very easy to filter on the machine translated segment and post-edit them directly in the translation grid. Various machine translation providers are available in Déjà Vu X3. If you want to add them to one of your projects, you will click on Project, Properties, Machine Translation, and then you will choose amongst the various machine translation providers available. Should you need more information, feel free contacting us. Now let's talk about customizing your quality assurance check module using SQL statements. A quality assurance module is available in Déjà Vu X3. You can use it by clicking on Review. You can check the terminology, the numbers, the tags, the spaces, or you can check all of those by clicking on Batch QA. But you can go further. You can add your own quality assurance check. As you can see here, I have created a few customized SQL statements. All of those are available on our website. First, let's have a look how to add a SQL statement in your quality assurance check. To do that, you will go on File, Options, SQL. You can start creating your own expression yourself by using this module, Build Expression. If you want to be able to check the machine translated segment that have been approved, you can do so. Click OK. Simply give the statement a name, so it will be machine translated and approved, and you just have to add it to your QA checks. Now, the status is available in the drop-down list in the filter selector. Machine translated and approved is to be found here. So you can filter on this segment, and you can go to them directly using the Navigate panel here. Go to Next Segment Matching SQL Filter, Machine Translated and Approved. Of course, this is just an example. You can really create your own quality assurance check. If you want to be able to check the punctuation automatically, you would simply have to copy this sentence and then add it to your own QA check. So you will go on File, Options again, SQL, and you would simply have to paste the expression here, give it a name, and add it to your QA check. But when you are done translating, you can go on Review, Batch QA, and check for anything that you might like. If there are positive results, you will get QA warnings. Let's take an example. I want to check all the segments that were edited today. I check this, I click on OK, and you see I'm getting a warning here. If I put my mouse on it, it is written edited today. Same thing. I can use the filter selector and filter on them. Okay, so the point is that you can really customize and create your own quality assurance check. And again, to do so, feel free visiting our website and having a look at this document. So that would be it for today. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned a few things. I really want to thank you again for attending to this webinar. And now we have a lot of time to discuss things, so if you have any question, please don't hesitate and we will try to address it during the QA session that starts right now. Again, thank you everybody and talk to you soon.